Alright, so today we are going to do a DPM review and play Name That Song. Hold on one second. Okay. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, for number 1, it says the diagram shows the plan for a rectangular vegetable garden. All dimensions are given in meters. And it wants to know which expression represents the area of the garden in square meters. So we have to recall that area equals length times width. So now we know that we're going to multiply our two dimensions together that they've given us here. So it would be 3x plus 1 times 2x minus 3. Okay, and we are going to use, I don't want to do it that way, the FOIL method. We could use the box method or the FOIL method, so I'm going to use the FOIL method right now. Okay, so remember the F tells us that we have to multiply our first term, so that's going to be 3x times 2x, which gives us 6x squared. So looking down here, the answer options that they've given me, right away I can get rid of A and B because they're starting with 5x squared. So next it tells us to do the outside term, so that's 3x times negative 3, which gives us negative 9x. Now the I is telling us to do the inside term, so that's 1 times 2x, so that's plus 2x. And then L is for the last term, so that's 1 times negative 3, which gives me negative 3. So since both of them have a negative 3, I can't eliminate anything yet, so I'm going to go ahead and have to combine my like terms here. So when I do, I get 6x squared minus 7x, because negative 9x plus 2x gives me negative 7x, and then minus 3. So therefore, C would be our answer. Okay. Alright, so here is our first bonus. And you'll find this where you can write your answer right below this question. It'll say bonus number 1. Okay, just in case you need to hear it one more time. Alright, so let's go on to our next set of questions here. So number 2 says which quadratic function in vertex form can be represented by the graph that has a vertex at 3, negative 4 and passes through the point 6, 5. Okay, so here's where you have to remember that vertex form, which is y equals x minus h squared plus k, where h comma k is the vertex. So they've already given us our vertex here, 3 and negative 4. So 3 is my h, and k is my, negative 4 is my k. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to plug it in to my equation here. Well, it won't give me a different color. There we go. Okay, so when I plug in my values, I would have y equals, and then I have x minus 3, because that, again, that's my h value here. And then squared, and then instead of plus, I'm going to put minus because my k value is negative, so minus 4. So when I look over here, I can get rid of D, I can get rid of C. Now, the only thing that I don't know about is the negative here. So I need to know if this one right here, the one that doesn't have the negative, goes through that 0.65, and if the one that doesn't have that one, then we know that we have the correct one. But if not, then it has to be the other one here. So what we can do is just use our calculator. So going to y equals, let me clear. So everybody in their calculator. In y1, what I'll do is put, and really all I need is y1. I'm going to put in my equation. So x minus 3 squared minus 4. And then I'm going to go to the table. Because again, I'm looking to see if 6, 5 is a point that's included in this function that I just punched in. Because if it is, then that means it's going to that point, and then I have the correct answer. So over here I see 6, 5. So that means it does go to that point, and therefore my answer, oh, is it not going to go away? Hold on. Okay, so my answer would have to be B. All right, number 3. Which expression is a factor of 36x squared minus 100? All right, so remember, this has no b term. So since it has no b term, I can go ahead and just square root both of my terms here and see, sorry, this is a really ugly b and it's bothering me, and see what my factors would be from there. So I'll square root 36x squared, and I'll square root 100. So when I square root 36x squared, the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of x squared is just x. And then remember, when I do my c value, that's 100, I always have to have the plus or minus because I need 2 solutions. So when I take the square root of 100, I get plus or minus 10. So that means my factors would be 6x plus 10 and 6x minus 10. So therefore, D would have to be my answer. All right. Ooh, sorry. Let's go to our next bonus question. Okay, and I'll play it one more time. Okay. All right, so let's go on to our next question, number 4. Which expression is equivalent to 15m squared minus 2 divided by 3 times 3m minus 8 minus 5m squared? All right, keyword here, equivalent. So that means, and remember, whenever we see this, we should think, oh, let me use my calculator, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this whole thing into y1, and then I'm going to try each one of these in y2 until I find one that shows me on the table where y1 matches up to y2 exactly. Yeah. But at least it'll work it out for you. Okay. All right. So here we go. In our calculators, y1. Let me clear this. All right. So we have to have 15, and I'm going to use the x instead of the m. So 15x squared minus, and so remember, whenever you're going to make that fraction, you can use alpha y equals inner. And then we have 2 over 3, and then times, we do our parentheses, 3, and then x minus 8, close the parentheses, and then finally minus 5x squared. Okay, so that's our y1. So now, for y2, we're going to first try a. So that's going to be 10x squared minus 2x, and then plus, again, I'm going to use my alpha y equals inner here to make the fraction, so that's 16 over 3. All right, so now I'm going to go to my table, see if they match up. And what do I see? They do. So you can see from here, y1 equals y2, y1 equals y2, all the way down. So that means that my expression is equivalent to the first option right here. So it's going to be A. Okay. All right, so let's go to our next bonus question, number 3. Okay, and I'm going to play it for you one more time. Okay. Let's go to our next question. Number 5. What is the domain of g of x equals 25 minus x squared? So domain. This is where we have to remember if it goes with x, if that's for the x values or my y values. So remember I taught you the little doctor x, y. So that means domain goes with my x values. So when I look at this parabola right here, or you know what, instead of us just thinking about it, let's just put it in my calculator. So let's look at it from the calculator. So we'll go to y equals, let me clear all this. So in y1, we're going to put 25 minus x squared. And let's look at this graph. Okay, so it's obviously a parabola because it's coming all the way around, right? But, and it is facing down because my x squared has that negative in front of it. But what I do know for sure is like as my parabola continues to go down, it gets wider and wider and wider. So what that means is it's just continuously covering all of the x values from left to right. So what that means is that it's going to cover all of them, and our domain would have to be all real numbers. Okay. So let's go to our next bonus question, number 4 here. Okay, and I'll play it one more time. Okay. Question number 6. It says the graph of f of x equals x squared is transformed to create the graph of g of x equals 3 times fx. So which graph best represents f and g? Well, to answer that question, we can simply just use our calculator. So everybody get their calculator and go to y equals. We're going to clear out what we have there. So in y1, we're going to put what f of x is equal to. And f of x, they told us is equal to x squared. Okay? And y2, we're going to put what g of x is. G of x is 3 times f of x. So that means it's 3 times x squared. So now we can take a look at our graph here. So here is f of x. And there is g of x. And so we can see that it caused our graph to stretch and get skinnier. So therefore, our answer would have to be B. And you got to make sure you pay attention because you can see the little dotted line, that's F. And G is my solid line that's on the inside, and that's the one we wanted on the inside. Okay, next question. Or I'm sorry, next bonus. So number 5. Okay, and I'll play it one more time. Okay, next question, number 7. Given the sequence below, write a formula for the nth term. Okay. Well, we can actually use our calculators to write our formula for this sequence here. So if you'll remember this 36, 27, 18, 9, what this means is this is my first term, this is my second term, this is my third term, and this is my fourth term in this sequence. So using that, I can set up a table of X and Y values. So now, using that information for that table, I can go to, I can go to my calculator here, and this time I'm going to hit Stat and Edit and hit Enter. So in L1, I'm going to put all of my X values, which was 1, 2, 3, and 4, because I was only given 4 terms. So L2 is going to hold my Y values. So that was 36, 27, 18, and 9. Alright, so now that I have all my data in, I hit Stat again. This time I'm going to go over to Calc. And since it's not telling me it's, since it's telling me it's a sequence, I know that it's going to be, we're going to use linear. So I'm going to hit 4, and I hit Enter like 5 times. And it gives me the equation where A is going to be -9 and B is going to be 45. So that means I would have, but you can see instead of this X, what are they using? They're using N. So I'm looking for a -9 attached to the variable N, right, or X. And then what was also included was that 45. So that means D. Oops, sorry. D has to be our answer. Okay? All right. Next bonus, number 6. And one more time. All right. Next question. Number 8. The graph of part of linear function f is shown on the grid below. Which inequality best represents the range of the part shown? Okay, so again, it's asking for the range, so thinking about Dr. X, Y, we know that the range has to be talking about the Y values. So that means we're looking only at our Y axis here to see how far up and how far down our graph is extending. Okay, so I see that my lowest value for Y has to be -4. Okay, so right away I can get rid of D and I can get rid of B. I can also get rid of D and B just for the fact of like they have X here. So that's talking about the domain. And we want the range. And since they have f of x in here, that's another name for Y. So we know that they're talking about the range on both of these. Okay, well they both have -4, right? And then when I come down or come over here to see what my highest value is, that's 4, and they both have 4 there as well. But what I see it's different is this one has the less than or equal to sign for both the inequalities, and on C it just has the less than. So this is where you have to remember, whenever we have this open circle here, that means it does not include this value of 4. It's just everything that's less than 4. Just like down here, since I have an open circle, it does not include this -4. It's just everything above -4. So therefore, I would have to choose C, because with the open circles, it means that they're not equal to them. It just goes up to that point. Okay. Bonus number 7. Okay, let's play this one more time. Next question, number 9. What is the value of x that satisfies both equations? Ooh, this looks like it was a typo, because it wouldn't say x equals 4x. Maybe it's x equals 4 times y minus 1. Okay, so this is where we have to remember our systems of equations, and there were several different methods that we used to solve for our variables. But in this case, they're just wanting to know what our x value is. So what I'm going to do, but I guess I'm going to have to figure out what y is. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the substitution method, because it's given me this value of x here, which is 4y minus 1, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to replace it with, or replace this x in this equation with this 4y minus 1. So then I can solve for one variable to determine what the other one is. So when I do that, I get 2, and then again, instead of the x, I'm going to put 4y minus 1, and then plus 3y equals 9. Okay, now to solve for y, we first have to distribute. So that gives me 8y minus 2, and then plus the 3y equals 9. Okay, so now I'm going to combine my like terms. So I have 3y and 8y. So when I combine them, I get 11y minus 2 equals 9. All right, so now I need to move this 2 over here with this 9. So since it's being subtracted, I'm going to add it. So then I get 11y equals 11. So now, I'm wondering, does that mean, okay, no, I'm doing it right. All right, so now to solve for y, I'm just going to simply divide everything by 11, and I get that y equals 1, because 11 divided by 11 is 1. All right, but y is not the value that they're looking for. They want us to find x. So now, using my bottom equation here, I'm going to take this y value that I found and replace the y with it to figure out what x is. So that means x would have to equal 4 times my y value, which is 1, and then minus 1. So 4 times 1 is just 4, and then minus 1, that gives me 3. So that means x equals 3. D would be my answer. Okay. Next question, or I'm sorry, next bonus, number 8. And I'll play it again. Okay. Next question, number 10. Given that g of x equals 3 times 5 plus x minus 7, what is the value of g of negative 3? Okay, so this is where we have to ask ourselves, negative 3 is either x, or is it x or is it y? Well, since it's inside our parentheses here, and you'll even notice it, there's an x inside this set of parentheses, so that must mean x would have to equal negative 3. Okay, so using our calculator, we are going to go to y equals, and we're just going to input our function here. So that is 3 times x plus 5, and then minus 7. And I don't want that square up there, so I'll delete that. Okay. So now I have my function entered into y1, so I'm going to go to the table. And since they've given me the value of x as negative 3, I want to know what y is whenever x is negative 3. I'm going to have to go up. And I see whenever x is negative 3, y is equal to 27. I don't know why that answer option is not on here, but we're just going to write it in as y equals 27. Did I enter this wrong? Or maybe there's just a typo. 3 times x, or yeah, it didn't matter that I put 5, x plus 5 instead of 5 plus x. I don't know why this is. Let me see what happens if I clear this. There we go. My bad. So whenever x is -3, y is -1. So let's just get rid of this. Oops. Okay, so that means that B is our answer. Sorry about that. Okay, number 10. It says a business owner operates 2 gyms in Jersey Village, Texas. These polynomials represent the profit of each gym for 1 year. Which expression represents the combined profits of the 2 restaurants? So combined here means we have to add them, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these and I'm just going to combine my like terms, right? So p squared plus 0.4 p squared, right? So we have to remember, since this p squared doesn't have anything in front of it, that means it's like 1 p squared. So 1 p squared plus 0.4 p squared can only be 1.4 p squared. So we've taken care of that. Now I have the like terms of negative 0.9 p and then plus 0.8 p. So since my 0.9 is negative, that means I'm going to have a negative 0.1 p when I combine those. And if you're not sure, you know that you can always use your calculator with these coefficients that are in the front. And then there's nothing to combine with the 2 here, so I just write my plus 2. So therefore, my answer has to be B. All right, next bonus, number 9. One more time. Okay, and our last set of questions, 12 and 13. So number 12, which of the following is a factor of 12x squared minus 17x minus 7? Okay, so this is one of those problems where it's not giving us both of our factors, it's only giving us one, and so that means we're going to have to actually factor it out in order to find out which one of the factors it is that they're giving us. So when I first look at the 12x squared minus 17x minus 7, I know that there's not a greatest common factor that I can factor out, so I'm just going to have to use the coefficients that they've given me. So let's go ahead and make our box. And we know that the 12x squared is going here, and then negative 7 is going here. Okay, so now I got to determine what goes in here. So I have to list my coefficients, so that's A equals 12, B equals negative 17, and C equals negative 7. So I have to say 12 times negative 7. So that's I'm going to come down here. So that's going to give me negative, or 84. Okay, so I need factors of negative 84 that are going to add up to give me this negative 17 here. Okay, so remember, you can go to your calculator to find your factors. So to do that in y equals, what we need to do is put in negative 84 divided by x. And then we're going to go to the table, and here are all of our factors. But we are looking for factors that add up to give us this negative 17, our b value. So I know that these are not going to work. These aren't going to work. I'm going to have to keep going. And I'm coming up on this 4 and negative 21. So I'm thinking that 4 and negative 21 will work. So let's see if I hit. So we'll quit and say 4 plus negative 21. And you see I get a negative 17. So those are the factors that I want to use. So 4, negative 21. So that's what I'm putting up here. I'm going to make my box bigger for you guys. It's kind of hard to write in it. Okay. So like I said, I had 12x squared up here, and then negative 7 here. And now using these numbers that I found, I'm going to put 4x here, and then negative 21x here. Okay. All right, so this is where I have to find out what's the greatest number or the largest number that I can divide both of these terms by, because that's the number that I want to write outside of my box here. So I know that both of them are going to have an x, right? And so again, in order to look at like what common factors these had, you could go into y equals if you weren't sure what they were, and then do their value divided by x. But I know right away that the number I'm going to need is going to be 3. Because 3 is going to be the largest number that, or 3x is going to be the largest number that divides 12x squared and negative 21x. Okay? So now I have negative 7 and 4x. Well, the greatest number that I have that's going to divide both of them is just going to be 1. Okay? And looky here. I know that one of my factors is this 3x plus 1. And they gave me this option right over here. So I don't even need to find out what these other two are. But if I did, all I would have to do is say, well, what times 3x gave me 12x squared? And then I could say, oh, that's 4x. And then what times 1 gave me negative 7? Well, that was negative 7. So, but like I said, we didn't have to do that. Okay, so down here it says, which of the following is an equivalent expression of 12x squared plus 2x? Here's that word again, equivalent. So right away we're going to use, or we know we're going to use our calculators. So in our calculator, in y1, we're going to put this right here, our expression. And then we're going to try each of these in y2 until we find the one that shows us on the table where y1 equals y2. Okay? All right, so in y equals, clear this. All right, so 12x squared. And then plus 2x. Oops. Delete that. I need to put 2x. Okay. So now in y2, I'm going to first try a. So they have 6 and then 2x squared plus x. So let's go to the table. And we can see y1 and y2 are not matching up. So right away, we know that this one is not an option. Okay, so now let's try this one down here. So we don't need to change y1, we just need to change y2. All right, so for our second y2 is we're going to put 2 and then times 6x squared and then plus 2x. So second graph, and again they're not matching up. So we got to go back to y equals. And again we're going to clear out y2, and now we're going to try this 4 times 3x squared plus x. So we have 4 and then 3x squared. Look at our table again, and it's still not matching up. So that concludes that the only option that's left, oh, we already said this one didn't work, this one didn't work. So that only leaves us with D, so that has to be our option. Okay, so here is our final bonus. And I'll play it once again. Okay. All right, so this concludes our DPM review. So tomorrow we will be taking the DPM. And if you need to do any additional studying, you can take this with you, or otherwise you can just turn it into the green basket. If you're not going to do any studying, you need to get online to the Google Classroom and complete your homework for the week. Some of these questions that we covered today should help you answer some of those questions that maybe you weren't able to during this week, since it's been a while since we've actually covered some of those topics. So anyway, if y'all have any questions or need anything, remember that you can reach me on Remind, and I will see y'all on Friday.